Hi, I'm Dave Mars with Conservation Tips. You know, there's lots of ways to reduce your energy costs, and one of the ways is to stop air infiltration. On today's presentation, we're going to show you various areas where air can penetrate into your home, and a very simple way to take care of it that only costs you a few bucks. Not only will you stop air infiltration and help you on your utility bills, but you'll stop bugs, humidity, and dust from coming in. So, take a look. Sealing up cracks is easy. You go to the hardware store and go to the caulking section. You might be kind of overwhelmed by the variety of materials that are there, but here's a few tips for you. You can use a silicone caulk, 100% silicone, where you need some stretchability. Perhaps where metal is connecting to siding, or where you can see that there's some movement here and there from season to season. Now, the only difficulty with this is that you can't paint over it. So if you have a painted surface and you're concerned about future projects, you can use a acrylic silicone blend. Not quite as stretchable, but it's a really good quality caulk, and it does come in clear, so you can paint it later on. Now, if you want to get the caulking out of the tube, you need a caulk gun. And I prefer a smooth rod caulk gun like this because you get a little bit better action, and it's going to take you a tube or two to really get good at it. So you might want to start where not many people are going to watch or see it, so you get your chops together, and get real good at it. If those kind of seem a little bit too formidable of a task for you, they do come in a handy squeeze tube. And what you want to do is get a tube like this, and as you use it, then you can, curl it up like a toothpaste tube and get that very last bit out of there, and it gives you more control when you're squeezing it too. So as you go around your house and look for areas that might be leakers, you can look where two surfaces meet. So like where your door trim meets your siding, around where window trim meets your siding, any place where you have two surfaces meeting together. Now if you have a brick house like this, you may have spots in the mortar that air might come in, and you can use that concrete caulking to take care of that. But if you have steel or vinyl siding, you're not going to be able to do quite the caulking as you can in a house like this. The vinyl and the steel have to move a little bit, so it makes it a little bit harder to take care of those. Now if you have wood siding, yes, definitely get the ends of the boards caulked. You don't want to do underneath the boards, it's got to breathe a little bit. But that's kind of the area, so it depends on what kind of house siding you have and how successful you're going to be. Now with the storm window, they're meant to keep the storms off your window, and we want to stop the water from penetrating around the edges, and also some air too. So you want to only caulk the very top edge, and basically want to caulk on the outside where this flange meets the window. Okay, we don't want to glue this to the wood because it makes it hard to remove if you want to take it off at a later date. You want to leave the bottom edge open for a little air to come in, so in case you get moisture trapped back there, it'll dry out. Now you've got your caulk tube ready, you got your caulk gun, you're going to cut the top at an angle like this, and it's also handy to have a rag in case you get a little extra on your finger because you're going to globber it up pretty much the first time you try. And very simply, you just go on an edge like this, kind of work it down, take your time, go real slow, see how easy that comes out. And then if you want, you can take your finger, kind of smooth that out a little bit, make it look a little more professional. And this is where you might use that rag. As long as this rag is wet, your finger won't get all glomed up and it'll be easier to work. Now after you've done your trim on your windows and doors, it's time to look for other locations where air might be penetrating. One spot to watch is down below your electric meter, the pipe penetrating the foundation wall. You might be able to get some caulking on that, or you might have to use some spray foam. Other areas to look for are where pipes come out of the wall. Another area to look for is where your hose bib comes out the wall. Caulk that for sure, because you don't need air penetrating in that wall cavity. It might freeze that water in there. If you have a large gap in some siding, you can use spray foam like this to take care of the gap. Now you want to cover this up because that doesn't hold up very well to the weather over time. So put a trim board on that to cover it up, make sure that it lasts you. Where we have air conditioner lines coming in, that can be a very large gap around that. That may be a candidate for some spray foam, or you might want to use that the caulking that's like concrete and cover this up. Now the next place to look is downstairs. You want to forget that your basement or your crawl space. And a real good place to start your investigation is where your sill plate and your base plate here meet your wall. Now this can be the most overlooked area in homes, but it can have huge gaps if your house has shifted over the years. Now if the crack is too large for caulk, you might consider using spray foam insulation to fill the gap. First, look up in the area by the flooring for the upstairs for leaks. You might also want to add some insulation here. 2 or 3 inches would be about ideal. Next, caulk where the sill plate meets the foundation wall. Now the next area, of course, to look is in your foundation wall. Cracks can occur as your house settles over the years, and some can be pretty wide. You might want to get a professional to take care of those. But if they're small enough for you to be able to do it yourself, there is a product that's on the shelves in the hardware store. It's called Concrete Repair. It's sort of a flexible caulking. It's got some grit in it. It meshes real well and does a really good job. Now the next place to, of course, take a look at is a large opening like this, which is your window or your crawl space vent. You can see this homeowner has already adapted some caulking to this gap around the edge here. If you find it fairly large, you can kind of pre-stuff that with this stuff called backer rod. And that would go in the crack and you can put your caulking over it. And this obviously is a pretty old window and they kind of want to just sort of stay shut. So there's some edge damage here also. They're using a little spray foam in there. You might use some backer rod. They've also stuffed some plastic bags in here to keep the air from coming out. So whatever you have at hand, you can go ahead and that'll stop a lot of air from coming in. Now, what you find below, you may also find above in your attic. So it's time to take a look up there and see if you can find any air infiltration spots. Now, if you've got a whole layer of insulation up there, it's going to be more difficult to do. But if you've got a low level and you can see some of this we're going to talk about, take care of it. Where wires come through, where boards may meet, and separate, make sure we got no passages of air that can be coming up from the downstairs. And you can use caulking or you can use spray foam in most of these junctures, with one exception or two exceptions. Wherever you have a chimney going up into your attic, or you might have a flue from your furnace or water heater, they're going to get hot, you can't use anything combustible. So use some sheet metal, cut out with a circle and place that around there, and keep your insulation away from that so you'll be safe. So is all this caulking worth your while, getting your fingers all mussy and getting new equipment, etc.? Well, of course it is. So the amount that those fissures might add up to would be leaving your window half open all year round. It's going to let in a lot of cold air, a lot of hot air, a lot of bugs and what have you. So get busy today. Go to the hardware store, get you some caulk and a caulk gun, and get good at it and get those leaks sealed up. Dave Moore is the Conservation Tips, and we'll see you next time.